Hi food storage friends, and welcome to another episode of Everyday Food Storage. Now it is birthday week this week at the Godfrey household, so what better time to show you my favorite chocolate cake. Now this chocolate cake is not only going to be extremely easy, it's also going to incorporate entirely food storage ingredients. That's right, I made this cake entirely with shelf-stable ingredients. Now my favorite ingredient is going to be the beans. Now it seems kind of shocking, but let me just sell you on it right now. Beans are awesome in things like cakes because not only are you replacing that fat with a punch of fiber and protein, which is going to fill you up after you eat a piece of cake, but it's also going to make the consistency of the cake very rich, very moist, and very fudgy. So let's get started and let me show you how easy this cake can be. Now for this recipe, it's going to be easy and it's going to feature a lot of food storage because of course we're making it entirely from food storage. But the main food storage players in this recipe is going to be powdered milk, whole wheat flour, powdered eggs, big shocker, sugar, and here's the real twist. We're going to use pureed beans in place of the oil. Now this is very easy to do. If you want to do it just starting out, go ahead and dump a can of beans into your blender and puree it. Then use it in any recipe calling for beans in the same amount. So if your recipe calls for 1 cup of oil, you're going to use 1 cup of this bean puree. Now to begin with, we're going to mix together our dry ingredients and then mix in our wet ingredients. Okay, so since we're adding in our dry ingredients, it's going to be really simple. Go ahead and start with the largest one first, and that's sugar. Go ahead and pour it into your bowl or your mixing bowl or your KitchenAid or Bosch or whatever you're going to use. Just go ahead and pour that sugar in. Then go ahead and add in your cocoa. Your powdered milk. Remember, you don't have to mix your powdered milk with your water when you're using it in the recipe. You can just go ahead and add your dry powdered milk in with your dry ingredients. Then we'll add in the water later when we're putting in our wet ingredients. So go ahead and put in your powdered milk, your salt, baking soda, and baking powder. And now let's talk flour. Now what I did is this recipe originally calls for 1 3/4 cup flour. I'm going to use 1 cup of flour and 3/4 cup whole wheat. So that's almost half and half. That's how my family likes it. The nice thing about using these recipes is you can make it exactly how your family likes it. You can do 100% whole wheat, a little bit of whole wheat, but whatever you do, at least put in a little bit of whole wheat. I promise chocolate is one of those things that hides everything and you won't be able to taste any difference using that whole wheat flour. So go ahead and put in your flour. And then powdered eggs. Now normally for powdered eggs, you're going to use a 1 tablespoon ratio for 1 egg. But when you're making a cake, I found it is a lot easier to double that and use 2 tablespoons because a lot of times you're frosting it. And eggs are what's going to bind everything together. If you don't have a really strong bind in that cake, when you go to frost it, you get a big crummy mess. And that is no bueno. So go ahead and double it for this. That's 4 tablespoons of dry egg powder into your bowl. Okay, now that you have your dry ingredients mixed together, it's time to add in your wet ingredients. Now go ahead and open up your mixer, and we're going to add in, for those of you playing at home, 1.5 cups of water because our original recipe called for 1 cup of milk and the 2 eggs, and so we've got our 1 cup of water for the milk, and we've got our ½ cup of water for those 4 tablespoons of eggs we added into our dry ingredients. So go ahead and pour in your water. Add in your bean puree and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Now you're going to go ahead and close it up, lock it, and beat it on medium for 2 minutes. Okay, now once your cake batter is mixed together, we're going to add in one last ingredient, and that is 1 cup of boiling water. Now this is going to make your batter really thin, and that's okay. That's how it's supposed to be. So go ahead and add in that 1 cup of boiling water.
and go ahead and close it, lock it, and mix it again until it's incorporated. Once you have everything all done, it's time to pour it into your cake pans. Now, I am totally not someone who likes to do dishes, so we do a lot of our birthday cakes in bundt pans because they're really easy to work with. They cook faster, they look pretty no matter what, except the only problem is you have to be really careful that when you turn it out, that one little piece of your cake does not get stuck in your bundt pan. That is the worst because it ruins everything. So what I do to make sure that doesn't happen is I actually use some coconut spray. I love it because it adds just a little bit of flavor of coconut. You guys know by now I love coconut. You spray it on your bundt pan and then you put in a little bit of sugar. Move around your pan so that it gets all the way around, and then I promise you won't have any sticking. Okay, now go ahead and pour it into your bundt pan. Now we're just gonna put our cake in a preheated 350-degree oven and bake for 50 to 55 minutes. Then when it's done, go ahead and pull it out of your oven, let it cool for 5 to 10 minutes, flip it out on a plate, and let it cool for another 15 minutes, and we'll top it with our ganache. While our cake's cooling, it's time to make our ganache. Now, I'm totally a fan of homemade frosting, but really if you want to kick your cake up a notch, ganache is the way to do it, and we're actually going to do it with food storage ingredients as well. Now we're going to start out with a cup of cream. Now you're thinking to yourself, Crystal, cream is not shelf stable. Oh, think again. It totally is, and it's great because it is cheaper than what you can buy it for in the store. So it's about $1 cheaper for a quart of whipping cream when you do it through Gossner than when you buy it through a grocery store. Now actually, if you live in Utah and you can go pick it up from Gossner's, it's even cheaper. But if you buy it online from the link below from Diversified Foods, that's where it's going to be about $1 cheaper than in the store. And it's totally shelf stable. You can whip it, you can make ice cream out of it. It's totally awesome. I love it. I keep it in my pantry all the time. And then we're going to use a package of chocolate chips. Now all you have to do to make the ganache is go ahead and heat your whipped cream up for 2 minutes in your microwave, then pull it out, put it in your chocolate chips, let it sit for 5 minutes, and then give it a good stir. Now that your super easy ganache is stirred and ready to go, just go ahead and pour it lovingly over your cake. Now the moment of truth. Now it's super fudgy, and of course you've got the ganache, which is like liquid chocolate gold drizzled all over it. It is so good. Your family will never know that we snuck powdered milk, whole wheat, beans, and all the other shelf-stable ingredients into this chocolate cake. Who knew food storage could be so delicious?
If you want to make sure that you're still getting videos from me, make sure you subscribe below. And make sure you check back next week for another episode of Everyday Food Storage. See you then. All right, we're just gonna very technically stick this back and nobody will ever know.
Want the recipe? Visit storethisnotthat.com and click the Everyday Food Storage link.